In this video, I will show my whole path in 3D, starting from the first videos in Blender and the last ones in Unreal Engine 5.2. I hope you will enjoy the video and get motivated to learn a 3D world or AI. If you like my content, please like and subscribe to the channel. It will help me a lot and will inspire me for creation even better content. I learned a lot of programs before, but videos I made only in Photoshop with some edits in Premiere, Blender, and Unreal Engine. Let's begin by watching Photoshop videos, as I think they are the first ones. My goal with Photoshop was to create images without relying on 3D software. However, I quickly realized that I will encounter difficulties while trying to find images due to perspective issues. It's worth noting that I wasn't aware of image stocks at that time. Moving on to Blender videos, I decided to dive into Blender again after experimenting with 3ds Max. The main reason for this switch was that both Vray and Corona proved to be too slow for videos longer than half a second. However, my initial start in the world of 3D began with 3ds Max when I created my first interior following a step-by-step tutorial on YouTube. In Blender, I created more complex outdoor scenes which included cars and various simulations. It was an exciting experience, and my best project was a video featuring a red Mustang. Surprisingly, this work remained my best even after spending a year or two in Unreal Engine. This was partly because Unreal Engine had much worse lighting, reflections, and rendering systems, along with a steeper learning curve. In contrast, Blender made it relatively easy to achieve stunning renders by simply placing meshes and adding sunlight. Now, let's dive into Unreal Engine 4. From here, I would stay at some essential videos, highlighting key moments in each project. Starting with my first Unreal Engine project. I was just beginning to finding how this engine works and how to accomplish even the simplest tasks. Unreal Engine was completely different from what I was used to in Blender, and it introduced a whole new world of complexity. One of the main challenges was understanding how Unreal Engine systems functioned. Unlike Blender and 3ds Max, which utilized simulations and lighting that mimicked real-world physics, Unreal Engine often relied on fake, pre-baked systems. For instance, effects like fire and particles weren't actually true 3D particles. Instead, they were 2D images that rotated to face the camera. Such unusual techniques were everywhere at the engine. It took me nearly a year to become accustomed to these methods and start realizing their potential. Once I learned the basics of the engine, I started creating my first short films. These films featured a few different environments, story, and lots of intricate details. This taught me a lot about various systems. For instance, I learned how to make my own particle systems and create unique environments. During this time, I experimented with making animations, using particle systems, and blending everything together in the sequencer. However, I encountered some challenges along the way. I had many fears and doubts because my graphics weren't as good as those in Blender, and some of the systems didn't seem to make much sense. The one thing that kept me using Unreal Engine was the rendering speed. I could render my project almost in real time, with a maximum of 1 hour for a 1-minute video. In contrast, using Corona Render took me 4 to 6 hours for a single image. Another issue I faced was that the renders from Unreal Engine tended to be blurry and lower in quality compared to Blender or 3ds Max. Because of this, I had to render my projects in 4K resolution to compete with the full HD quality of Blender. However, it's possible that this is just my personal perspective, and others may find them similar. The next important step was grasping how the lighting system functions. To create something as simple as a sunny or cloudy day, I had to utilize several components: directional light, sky atmosphere, skylight, volumetric clouds, and height fog. Each of these elements had its own specific functions, and when they interacted with one another, they having other functions. It felt like a bit of a nightmare. However, when I worked on the project you see now, I tested and experimented with all these components until I finally understood how to use them effectively. It took me around 40 to 100 hours of working in Unreal Engine before I truly understood how the lighting works. After that, I continued improving my skills and learning new stuff. One essential project involved a drifting car maneuvering around a dancing Mixamo character. This marked my first encounter with Mixamo and using human animations in my work. Creating the realistic smoke effects for this project presented a considerable challenge, and I was pleasantly surprised by my success in achieving it. My next project focused on physics. To execute this, I specifically downloaded an older version of Blender because it provided the necessary options for creating a physically accurate, wall-breaking simulation. This project proved highly instructive, teaching me how to coordinate various animations simultaneously and effectively utilize attachment features. Later on, I created a car-related video within that same environment, although I wasn't entirely satisfied with the colors that emerged in that particular project. The next hard idea was the NASCAR, and let me tell you, it was a really tough one. The main issue was animating multiple cars without spending an excessive amount of time on it. Initially, I thought about designing a curved road, but after a few unsuccessful attempts at animating it, I decided to stick with a flat oval track. Eventually, I used 3 to 6 rail rig splines and attached a couple of cars to each one. While it may not have been perfect, it didn't look too bad. Regrettably, even to this day, I haven't come across a more straightforward method to animate this type of scene, aside from creating 30 separate splines and attaching 30 cars to them. Just picture the chaos that would create in the sequencer and the overall environment. Nevertheless, thanks to this project, I gained a comprehensive understanding of how the attachment system works in Unreal Engine. Now, it was time to take on really large projects, and even today, raw creating them would be a monumental task. Unlike my previous work with just 1 or 2 environments, these projects involved numerous environments, sequences, and animations. Naturally, they consumed a significant amount of time and effort. After completing the first one, featuring future soldiers and a small army invading a sci-fi library, I made an even larger and better one. To me, it felt completely enormous as I introduced a new element: using music to control the length of the renders. For the first time in my life, I meticulously counted the milliseconds between beats and adjusted the rendering process to synchronize with the music. Those moments with precisely timed explosions and shots still leave me breathless. The challenge lay in creating entire scenes that lasted only 1 to 3 seconds, which meant spending hours perfecting just 1 second of footage. It felt crazy back then, and honestly, it still feels pretty wild to me. Following those projects, I set my sights on animating a metahuman. Certain parts of that video still amaze me, particularly the hand animations at the beginning. I also ventured into experimenting with transitions, which, as you might expect, added a few more hours to the project. But hey, it was worth it for the results. And then came my first commercial video. I'm not entirely sure why, but I chose to feature an iPhone in it. Perhaps it was because there were some excellent 3D models available, or maybe I was inspired by another iPhone commercial. Regardless, this marked a significant turning point in my skill set, diving into the world of commercials. I've always aspired to create videos at a professional level, and with this project, I took another step toward achieving that goal. During this project, I also tried some experiments. The first involved changing the screen texture, and the second was simulating the process of creating an image of the moon. Both of these ideas were quite cool, and they added an interesting touch to the video. Water project? Something new. It's the first render that focuses on the water. It's quite amusing to look back on it now, knowing that in just 1 year, I would become familiar with advanced tools like Fluid Flux and its second version, which would open up even more possibilities for working with fluid dynamics. Let's stop on 1 second here with this rainy project. It's worth pausing here because of the valuable experience I gained from working on the rain materials and experimenting with various ideas for their use. This project taught me how to effectively create rain effects and develop more advanced materials, which has been a significant asset in my work. Additionally, if I recall correctly, this project marked the first time I created a city environment in my work, making it an important milestone in my creative journey. As we near the end of my Unreal Engine 4 journey, let's quickly revisit a couple of projects we missed: the Snow project and the Slow Motion one. The Snow project, in particular, was a personal favorite for some time. I enjoyed working on the snow effects, especially the way the headlights illuminated the falling snowflakes, creating a captivating visual. On the other hand, the slow motion project taught me valuable lessons about how time functions within Unreal Engine. I learned how to slow down particles to an extreme degree and how to create cool effects like the gradual shattering of glass or the movement of flying bullets. I only regret that I never used such techniques one more time, but maybe time just hasn't come. There were so many cool projects, but let's mention these. The last short film in UE4. I liked almost all parts of it except the space battle. Particles worked badly, and I didn't know how to set up the space lighting yet. Next goes one of the best commercials I made in UE4. Here firstly, I showed so many details and close-ups. Quality models and cool scene added final improvements to this awesome video. The first interior scenes were here as well. One showed the ancient interior, while the second one focused on the modern one. This office still has a place in my heart. And last 3 videos. They mark the culmination of my learning journey with Unreal Engine 4. Everything I learned, every technique I mastered, and every render I created led up to these videos, especially the last one. The first video is a short military presentation. I used the best models I could find from Vigilante content and added impressive VFX to them, combined with night vision effects. It's really something to see. Next is a video with drift. This video was a turning point because all the drift and traffic scenes that followed it looked good only because of it. Here, I managed to create a realistic smoke simulation and added lots of traffic and foliage. I still enjoy watching it from time to time. Lastly, there's the last video. I can't help but see UE5 level quality in this scene. This scene is the highest point I ever reached in UE4. I used all the knowledge and skills and pushed the engine's capabilities to the max. From cable simulations to color correction and car models. It's a fitting conclusion to a long and interesting journey. Wow, I didn't even notice how much time has passed. I could have share interesting stories about all my other projects, but it would take too long. Instead, you can check out the video featuring all my works in the top right corner. I've decided to split the video into 2 parts, as including UE5 would make it too long. So, stay tuned for the second part coming soon. I hope you enjoyed the video and found these stories interesting and useful for your own projects. I want to express my gratitude to everyone still here and to all the viewers of my videos. Bye for now, but we'll see each other very soon. Have a great day and may your renders be speedy.